Support for the podcast comes from Open Minds Psychological with locations in Plymouth Meeting and Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Open Minds works with individuals to support needs around emotional regulation, anxiety, depression, trauma, and coping skill development. They also offer psychological evaluations to assess developmental, cognitive, academic, and behavioral needs, high-risk assessment, as well as career counseling. Evidence-informed group therapy options are offered periodically throughout the year around topics such as anxiety awareness and skill building, social skill development, ADHD and executive function coaching, as well as parent support groups. Learn more at openmindpsychological.com. Hello, and welcome back to Parenting Stuff I Wish I Knew Sooner and Want You to Know Now. I'm your host, Erica Desper, founder of the Center for Confident Parenting and a mom who seemed to learn everything I needed to know the hard way. My guest today is Laura Shay, a local independent singer-songwriter who I have been a fangirl of for over 12 years. Laura has recorded and released 4 albums of original music with local talented musicians since 2005, sold out select venues in the Philly area, and had her songs placed in various TV shows, movies, and videos around the world, including Food Network, the Hallmark Channel, and BBC. Very cool. She's also a speech language pathologist and, most importantly, a mom of 4 kids ranging in age from 3 to 16 years old. Laura, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm super, you can't tell on the outside, but on the inside, remember in Love Actually, where she goes behind the door and she's like, "Ee!" and she gets it all out of her system because she's so excited.
Didn't see that movie. It's on my list. I know.
My goodness. We have to stop recording and go watch it. Well, when you get to that scene and you watch that movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. That is how I feel, because when did I hear you for the first time? Shout out to my dear friend Audrey. I was in like a really difficult place in life, and she was like, "Let's get you out of the house. There's this house concert in somebody's backyard." And I was like, "Fine, whatever." And it was you. And life has not been the same since. I believe that night you played Whole. Which I don't even know what you wrote it about. I've never asked you. I don't know the origins. Maybe I don't want to know. It just spoke to me and where I was on my journey of just, trying to be a whole person. And I appreciate you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Don't cry. You can't start crying at the beginning. You have to save it for further.
Listen.
For anyone that doesn't know Laura Shay, she cries very often and easily. Okay, so yes, we are. When I started following you, which gosh, I think it has been 12 years. I tried to figure it out and I'm not good at math. So we're just going to say 12 years. You were a single woman, 0 children. And then what seemed like all of a sudden, I'm sure that's not how it actually was. You were married and you had 2 children and then 4. So tell us about that journey.
So from 2008 to 2010, I took a job at a company where my brother worked because I'd been teaching at a Delaware County community college for like 6 years. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and the work wasn't steady. So I wound up meeting my now husband at this job, and the timing was awful. He was like initiating the process of a divorce. He had 2 small children. I'm like, what is happening right now?
That's a lot.
Why this person? And my mother was like, what's going on? Like, why are you interested in this guy? And you can't control that sometimes. Mm-hmm. So the step parent thing came on very early, even though we weren't married. Like, the girls have not really known a different life other than having 3 parents. Like, I've just kind of always been there because they were very young. They were toddlers when we met.
Yep. Mine too. We had a very similar, he doesn't remember the before.
Yes. So that was just an interesting, tumultuous way to start a relationship. But like 14 years later, he and I are still together. We've been married for 7. And when you posed this question, I actually thought when I was young, one of her friends asked her, like, "Who's that lady who like picks you up sometimes?" And there wasn't a word for me because My
Right.
husband and I weren't married. And my said, she helps out. She helps out. So my husband and I still
So they thought you
talk
were
about
like
that
the
sometimes.
nanny.
Yeah, just like kind of around,
She's just a
helping out.
helper. Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's a common challenge in, I mean, we had the same thing, and my son called
Right.
him my Michael because his name is Michael, because he didn't really know what to say. He definitely didn't want to say, like, that's my dad, and he was not a stepdad yet officially.
Sure.
So he would say, that's my Michael, and kids would be like, oh, that makes sense.
And got that too. Like that's my Laura. And they've always called me that.
Right?
And it just kind of seamlessly worked its way. I worked my way into their lives, and they've
Yeah.
been stuck with me ever since.
I'm sure
Ever
they're
since.
happy to be, we're all happy to be stuck with you.
And now they have two little brothers.
Yeah.
You know,
So how
no.
long, like, what was the time between there?
So, I mean, my husband and I met, I guess, or kind of started around 2010, and then my first son was born in 2019.
All right.
So we joke that it's like two litters
Yes.
because
Yep.
16 and 14, almost 5 and 3.
Yeah, it's like 2 rounds of family for sure, especially for him.
Yeah, but lots of big
Yeah.
emotions
Oh,
in
lots
the
of big
house.
emotions. So let's get to that. For you, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of the first few years of being as a step parent, which has its own, dynamic with it, and then of being a biological parent?
I actually think being a step parent is harder now in the phase
Okay.
that we're in now.
The
When
teen
they were
years.
younger, yes. When they were younger, they didn't know any different. And I was just kind of another presence in their lives. And I look at my position, I've always been very honest. We have honest conversations that I've always said, I'm not your mom. I'm not trying to be your mom. I'm another person in your life who's here to guide you and help you when you need it. And, I feel like a mother to
Mm-hmm.
you. I think the biggest challenge is that their mom and I are very different, and they're
Mm-hmm.
acutely aware of that. We just are different people, different
Yeah.
personalities, different parenting styles. And when they were younger, it was easier for me to jump in, and now they're more aware that mom and Laura are quite different. So I've pulled back a lot
Mm-hmm.
more in these years because there's certain things that they need and they don't necessarily need it from me or don't
Mm-hmm.
want it from me
Or right,
right now.
exactly.
And I just, it's a delicate balance, and it's not something I'm able to talk about very much because the dynamic is
Yeah.
complex. It's very complex.
It really is. It really is. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of, I think, loyalty issues and just a
Sure.
lot of
Yeah.
emotions. And then the teen years are fraught with emotions anyway.
Right. And at
Uh,
the end of the day, I just want what's best for them, and they know that, and that's it. But if there's something I feel I need to step in for, I'm going to step in and do me and just be another
yeah.
voice in their ear and hope that then they can do what they want with that information. But at least I
Yeah.
know I said my piece as I felt I needed to.
Yeah. I think that's a
So
really
that's,
good
and you know,
stance to
it's,
take for
yeah,
these years.
and
And hey,
now
at least all they have to do is listen to your music to know that you understand and can relate to complex emotions.
they're
So,
not going to listen to my music. That's
of course
not,
not.
no, no one will
No,
hold a
they're too cool.
candle to Taylor Swift. No, I
Right, of
cannot
course.
compete.
So then when you had the boys, did the challenges feel different? I mean, I'm sure they did, but what was the biggest challenge with now these very young children?
In all honesty, I was very happy that I had boys because I never wanted them to feel that I would treat my biological daughter different from them. So
That did make that
in
piece easier.
yes, it really did. Um, I think the biggest challenge is the energy of the toddlers with like balancing the time and attention and emotional needs that teenagers have because
Mhm.
I'm really pulled. It's they have my sons have so many physical needs still
Right.
now that it's just draining for me. So
Yeah.
having that huge separation, my brothers, I'm one of four. I'm the youngest of four. My brothers are 8 and 10 years older than I am. So my mom had a 10, 8, a 4-year-old
Right.
girl, and then a
It's just,
newborn of
hey,
40.
maybe it's how the Shay family rolls. You gotta have a huge gap in
I
between.
know. And people are always like, you got 4 kids. And I only gave birth to 2. I've helped raise the other 2. But I don't
Right.
consider them, I don't often refer to them as my stepdaughters because
Right.
they don't, it's not like I came into their lives at 14 and 16 or even
Right. Right.
7 and 9. I've always been there and I feel
Right.
bonded and
And yet it's so
responsible.
difficult. Like you feel like they are yours in terms of how you care about them, but then verbally you can't, like you got to be careful with that because then they could be like, well, you're not my mom.
And
Famous stepchild saying.
I've already gotten that and I was prepared for
I'm
it.
sure.
Doesn't change the impact that it has. It was a
Right.
hard day. But I get it. Like it's hard for them. They didn't ask for any of this either.
Right. Everybody's
Yeah.
just navigating it.
Sure.
Uh all right. Well, you're doing good so far, but here we go. You you mentioned your mother.
Yeah.
You often reference how difficult it has been or is to mother without your own mother around,
Yeah.
um, because she has passed on. Can you speak to that a little bit, however you're able to today?
Sure. Um, First of all, I recognize what a blessing and a privilege it has been for me to have the mother that I had. Um, I grew up I had a beautiful childhood. I really did. I still keep in touch with like the kids from my neighborhood. We
Oh,
all still talk thanks to Facebook. Um,
right.
and it's amazing. I didn't realize that other people like, could have a different experience with a parent. So that's been a little interesting in some ways. Like I'm so grateful for her, and we were best friends.
Mhm.
I just kind of wasn't. Nobody's prepared to grieve a major loss. You can't understand that process until you go through it. You just
Sure.
can't.
Much like they say about parenting, no matter
Yeah,
what
oh,
people tell you or what you hear,
100%.
until you're in it, you really can't
Yes.
understand what it's going to feel like.
Right. And like I had some experience being around the girls, but there were times I had off. There were times I had off. Like in the
Right.
back of my
Right.
mind, it's like I'm not solely responsible for you. Whereas now it's like
Right.
keeping small boys alive is a
Yes.
full time deal. Um, my mom, it, I I know there's more to talk about in this arena, but it was a really difficult way of losing her in some respects. I had just had my first biological son in 2019. 5 months into that, my mom told us she was diagnosed with stage 3 small cell lung cancer. We were told with treatment, like aggressive radiation chemo, we could have 2 years. We met as a family. She agreed to give it a try because that's what you do. Like
Right.
you try everything in the hope that you have more
Sure.
time. Um, 2 months later, she died.
Mm.
I wasn't there when she died. Like we
Mm.
didn't expect it. I saw her 2 days before she passed. My sister called me at 12:30 that night. My husband was away in Arizona for work. I was home alone with a 7-month old and got a call
Ugh.
that my mom died. And it
Wow.
was like just
What
just
do you even do
yeah.
with that?
I was like I can't leave. I can't drive to Philly. I have a kid sleeping right now. I don't
Right.
even know what to do with this
Right.
information. Um, so it was just a lot to process in a short period of time because we had like
Yeah.
jumped in with medical appointments and like navigating cancer. And in a lot of ways, I think my dad really holds on to the fact that she didn't have to suffer
Hmm.
longer because
Sure.
the treatment really, really killed her in the end.
Yeah.
I think her body couldn't handle it. So there was a lot of like guilt and
Sure.
I wasn't there. And I'm in a medical field. I kind of wish I had been there instead of my sister because
Right.
that was traumatic for her in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. So the hardest thing about all of it is just when you get to this point in life, you can finally see your mother as a woman,
Mm,
a wife, a sister, a daughter, a mother. Like, she's not just your mom anymore. You can see her in a full array of everything she was that you couldn't see when you were younger. And I just want to talk to her. That's it.
yeah,
Like, any little thing that happens. Ben just turned 3, so around the birthdays I get extra emotional.
sure. I'm sure. And
Extra.
holidays.
Yes, they're
Yeah,
particularly challenging, and you know, there was a whole grieving process of like losing my house. We just helped my dad move, so
yeah,
that was like a whole other kind of reopened all of that 4 or 5 years later.
right.
There's also what I also wasn't prepared for was like the grief surrounding the fact that my children don't have her. My
Yeah.
grandmother lived to 101. I
Wow.
didn't know my grandfathers. They had passed when I was very young, but I have
Right.
such fond memories, especially of my maternal grandmother. And I also have nice memories of my paternal grandmother, but we were especially close to my mom's mom. And just there's a grieving process. Like, my mom doesn't know I had a second child. She
Right.
wasn't around for that.
Yeah.
So you just miss that relationship so much because anytime something happens, I want to tell her,
You
and I
want to go
can't.
tell her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really, really
I,
tough.
I think the other thing for mothers who are mothering without a mother is you don't realize how like lonely it is
Mm,
without that guidance, because she's the one person who can get you
yeah.
totally in this process. And I'm really fortunate because right after she passed, I had been working with a maternal mental health therapist,
Mm.
for actually other reasons unrelated to my mom passing.
We won't drag
I
those out today. That's another episode.
That's fine, no problem. She turned me on to a support group
Yeah.
that's in the area in South Jersey that's like 20 minutes from where I live, run by an incredible therapist who lost her mom very young. And I never thought I was the type of person to sit in a room with
Right.
strangers. And yes, I mean, I get up
Oh
in
my
front of
goodness.
people and sing in code about all my stuff, but like, this is
Totally
whoa.
different.
I went right after she died. They welcomed me with open arms, and her name's Kelly Page. She holds these kind of around the big, like Mother's Day, the holidays, Christmas, and all that. And it's been incredibly helpful to sit with other women who are in the same
Yeah.
boat and know that all of this, like the grief that you carry, I can't fold a fitted sheet. I can't do anything without thinking of my mother. She's woven into everything I do.
Now, wait, can you not fold a fitted sheet and you wish
Oh,
she was here to show you how to do it? Or she taught you
no.
how to do a badass fitted sheet folding job?
She like could put Martha Stewart to shame
Oh,
with how
God.
to fold a fitted sheet. Like, I
Okay. I
walk my
can't.
husband through
I
it
do
every
the
time.
nice little like
No,
put
no,
it in
I
the
will show you.
closet.
You grab the corners of the seams
I've seen
together.
Martha do it. I can't. Oh, I can't do it.
I'll come over
It
and
looks
I will
okay. Well,
cue
we'll
you
do that
through
together.
it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and isn't it wild? So a couple things, and we'll come back to the group because I do want to ask a question about that.
Yeah.
So I had the alternate childhood that you talked about, not super
Right.
functional, fairly traumatic, and that's putting it mildly in case my parents hear this. And yet, I grew up thinking like any problem I had, like, oh, well, my mom will know the answer. Like whether it was like, how do I type a resume, or like, what do I do about this friend problem, or just I thought she like knew just everything and could handle everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm a woman and a mother myself, I go like, oh my God, does my kid think that? Because I don't know everything and I can't handle
Right.
everything. Um, isn't that wild? Like I assume you maybe felt that way about your mom. She gets me, she'll know what to do. And now we're those people and we're like, oh crap.
And my mom's nickname, like my oldest brother, referred to her as the commander. Like she take charge,
Yep.
no shit from anybody, but also made you feel, I mean, you've met my mom, like
Yes.
made you feel like so warm. She was so personable, but she was also no nonsense. Like she was Eleanor Perry Shea, practically perfect in every way. That's a
Right.
lot to live up to, because I'm
For
certainly
real.
not perfect in any way. So yeah,
Right. Yeah,
it's a
I did not know your mom. I mean, I've met her, but
yeah.
my favorite memory of her, if I was to share one, was just how she, well, and your dad too, most of your family actually, they come to like every show. I
They
mean, I'm
did.
sure there's some where it maybe didn't work out, but I remember seeing them the first time and I was like, oh, that's so cute. You know, they came to watch her. And then as I followed you more often, I was like, oh, wow, they always come to watch her. And I just was like, can you even imagine? Because, of course, I had this very alternate childhood. Like, they must be so just enamored with her and so proud of her. And like, wouldn't you get tired of listening to it? But not if it's your kid, right? You're just, I think they loved watching you, you know, as much as everybody else did, which is wonderful. And I feel like we almost need to have a moment of silence for all the awesome local in-person music venues that have gone by the wayside. Seven Stones, Burlap and Bean, Tin Angel. I have very fond memories of you in all of those places. Um, okay, that's enough nostalgia. Going back to your group, if a parent or a mother is listening to this and maybe they're having a similar experience, is there anything you've gotten out of that group that you kind of carry with you that makes coping, not, I don't want to say easier, helps you cope?
Um, just the idea of making space and time to grieve. I
Mm,
mean, it's incredible to see women who've been without their mothers much longer than I have, who lost them as teenagers, lost them to suicide, lost them to ALS. Like it's runs the gamut, but the it, you need to. The only way out is through. Like it's so
yeah,
cliche, but I totally understand that. I actually keep a journal of, and I write letters to my mom every so often. That it just
beautiful.
forces me to sit down and slow down and feel like I'm just sitting with her talking like we used to
Yeah.
and just catching her up on things. And someday I'd like to look back at all that and kind of see where I was. I just, the fact that she even runs the group, just, it's such a unique club to be in.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe.
It's amazing that you found that. I can't, until I heard about it from you, I can't say I'd heard. I mean, I guess there's groups for everything, but I
Yeah.
hadn't heard about that. And I can, all of us just want to know that we're not alone and we want to benefit from people who are maybe further into a similar journey and can share, you know, nuggets
Yeah.
of information with us.
I'm an older mom. Like I'm 41 and my youngest just turned 3. My A lot of my friends never had children. Most of my friends never had children. Or my sister doesn't have children. My brother's children are much older. Like it just made me feel less alone
Yeah,
in
for
all of this.
sure.
So I'm really grateful for it.
I didn't prep you for this question, so hopefully you can handle it. But other than that group, like, how did you, do you feel like you have a village for mothering? And like, if someone doesn't have that, they don't live near family or whatever, like, how do you go about finding your people that
Well,
do get it?
I am really blessed because my sister is a great aunt. And if I call her and say, hey, can you come, watch them tonight so we can go do whatever, she's there.
Okay.
My father comes and visits twice. He's 82. He drives over twice a week. We've moved him over to New Jersey. He actually lives next door to my sister. The
Oh,
house
nice.
opened, like, tell me my mom didn't have something to do with that. The
Right?
house next to my sister opened
Too
up.
convenient.
The woman sold it privately to my dad, and his next door neighbors bought his house.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was so, in terms of like easy, and he finally
Yeah, that
agreed
was
to all of it.
definitely orchestrated somehow.
Amazing. But like my dad, really, he does as much as he's able to do, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful to see him spend the time because he's
Yeah.
with us twice a week. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, it's challenging. Like, they're older. We don't have a lot of nights where it's like, hey, can you take the kids overnight? I get
Right.
very jealous of
Yeah.
other people who have
That
that.
have that.
Yeah. But Jeff's one sister has took them, and she's going to take them in May, so we can go on a little trip, because we just don't. It's, also maintaining a relationship and a marriage through all of this is.
Absolutely.
I'm not the same person that I
You can't
was.
be.
No.
Yeah, not at all.
No.
Um, and have you found people that you can talk to about, like, whatever,
Yeah,
potty training, like the day-to-day parenting challenges that maybe a
well,
sister or sister-in-law wouldn't get that doesn't have kids?
that's where you come in.
That was not a plug for me, by the way.
No, but it is. But it is, because you provide, and I mean this wholeheartedly. Like, I had, the girls never had issues sleeping.
Right.
My first son had no issues sleeping. The next one was like a total.
You can't really have four. Statistically, one of them is going to struggle, at least.
Yeah. And it's amazing to go back and forth between looking at these little beings you created with such awe and like crying because you love them, to what did I do to my life? What?
I resent you in this moment just as much as I love you.
So I reached out to you. You were hugely helpful in terms of establishing routine and consistency, and with sleeping. And now I have 2 wonderful sleepers.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
having resources like you and the service you provide is invaluable because we just don't have that. I don't know half of our neighbors.
Yeah, really. It's just we know the cliche phrase, it takes a village, but not all of us just automatically have one. So you have to kind of find it, build it. And places like your, maternal wellness center, awesome. Yeah. You can find them there. I mean, thank goodness we have social media. It's both a blessing and a curse, but you can usually find people there as well. Sure. Some crazies and some helpful ones. So that's great that you found some resources. Okay, so let's shift away from that. Your lyrics and songs suggest you've had a long-term struggle with anxiety, which me too. I think a lot of us. And if there's one thing I know, it's that being a parent can be hugely anxiety producing. So you thought you struggled with it, and then the kids came along, right? So how do you, I assume it crops up in daily life. How do you manage that? Or maybe you say I'm not managing it. I don't know. But yeah, how does that fit into all this?
That's an interesting question, because when I had my kids, like the whole period of time, I say from like 2018 to 2022 was an anxiety / trauma bomb. So, and I understand the breadth of the word trauma now, which I kind of didn't before. I'm going to quickly give you the Cliff Notes on this. So July 2018, yes. I'm 9 weeks pregnant. Dog bites me in the face while I'm at work. Huge chunk of my lip ripped off.
Like really badly.
like part of my face was missing. Like, I have scars for life. I'm 9 weeks pregnant.
And so not to mention you're like a performer and singer.
Yeah. I've come to terms with this is how I look. It's fine. It is what it is. But that I wasn't able to go through a pregnancy without having this added wackadoo thing that happened to me that was I can't even explain it. So then I have my son in 2019. 7 months later, my mom dies out of nowhere. And then I laugh because it's you don't laugh, you cry.
It's crazy, right?
She dies. Yeah. So then I'm now grieving that while I'm still navigating having an infant, newborn. Mm-hmm. Then 2020 hits. It's global pandemic time. I get
exactly what you needed added to the plate, right?
And I go and get knocked up again during that.
Mind you, you work in the medical field during the pandemic too.
Correct. And after the dog bit me, because I'm a speech pathologist and I was a home-based speech pathologist at that time, I went back to work 2 months later. That was, who's going to hire a pregnant therapist? That was not an option for me to find another job. And financially, we have 3 kids. They couldn't afford that. So that was all of that was really hard. And then I was working through the pandemic in a hazmat suit every day, like clinging on to the news. Am I going to have like a stillborn kid? Is this
Oh
going to
my
affect my
goodness.
pregnancy? What if I get COVID?
I mean,
And I'm going,
anyone, even without anxiety issues prior, would be super
yeah,
struggling with all of that. But
yeah.
if you
Because
are
there
prone
was,
to anxiety,
and all these people who are home and like going out of their minds, we were lucky we had older kids who can handle, like the girls were able to handle the
right.
online learning, which was really helpful. I don't know how parents did it who worked full time from home and had little ones, and I don't kudos to all of them, but I
Right.
went through that pregnancy also very anxious for a different reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I kind of like didn't know that's been my baseline for a long time.
It sounds like you
And
need to go again so you can have a chill one. No, I'm totally just kidding.
we got husband fixed, so there's no more of that.
None of that.
None of that. There's plenty. I have to say, I had also a really difficult time breastfeeding, which was a whole other
Yep.
thing.
Us too.
When I finally relinquished that 6 weeks in, thanks to a lactation consultant I had seen 4 times at a place called The Village in Collingswood,
Mm-hmm.
she finally said to me, I don't think this is like the journey for you
Mm-hmm.
for a variety of reasons. Once I kind of gave that up, and she also got me hooked up with a maternal mental health specialist who I've been
Excellent.
seeing ever since.
That's how this is supposed to go. It doesn't always
Yes,
go that way, but that's a great experience.
I really appreciated that because my therapist, Julia, has been putting out fires since 2018. And now we're just chipping away at like some of the some of the other stuff that I should probably work on.
Oh, man.
But I just kind of didn't know a non-anxious day. So
Yeah.
therapy, very helpful. Um, I've tried medication. It does not agree with me. I think it's great that the stigma with cannabis use is
Mm-hmm.
really lifted and it's recreationally legal, because I've seen how that can be super helpful for
For
people to
sure.
reduce anxiety. There's a lot of options
Mm-hmm.
now, but I think if you don't find the ways, especially you need non-pharmacological coping strategies. You have to have them. Oh, I'm a
Yeah.
big like self-talker. I'm a big monotasker. Every I can do one thing at a time,
Right.
and I tell them that you can just get so bogged down. It's like a hamster running on a wheel.
Yeah. Well, you'll
So
have to teach me. You'll have to teach me the monotasking. I'm still very much a multitasker. Not an efficient one, but just more
nobody
of a
is,
scattered, lots of stuff's going to fall through the cracks kind of
but it's
multitasker.
prized
But I think I'm
now.
rocking it.
It's prized in our society, and it really
It really
isn't
is.
possible.
I know. I know. That's what I hear. There are really no efficient multitaskers. So that is an ongoing thing for me. So many of us, I want to say all of us, but I can't speak for everyone, feel like either the whole time we are a mother, a parent, or for at least a portion of it, maybe the initial stage, we kind of lose ourselves. I hear a lot of people say, like, I forgot who I was. I forgot what I was about. I don't even remember what I like to do when I have free time because we've gone so long with not having it. All those things get pushed to the side. So clearly, you've maintained somewhat your outlet of songwriting, singing. I'm sure you don't do it, as much as you did before all the kids came. But what do you think that does for you as a person and a parent to have that outlet that is not about the kids and the family most of the time, just for you or maybe just for your audience? That's sort of like your own little thing.
It's huge. In the back of my mind, I've always wanted to, as like make another record because I have a lot of songs that have never been recorded. So, with the help of some of my friends who really kind of pushed me to do this, I started this online platform through Patreon. And I've been so fortunate that people have been willing to subscribe. And it's knowing that I owe people stuff
The
every
accountability.
month. Yes, the accountability piece of it, because Otherwise, I would just sit and rewatch Schitt's Creek like 8,000 times with a tub of ice
Fabulous.
cream and shame eat,
Right.
as David would say. But it would be really easy to fall into that, like knowing that I have this thing I committed to, and I told people they should expect XYZ thing every month, kind of
Right.
forces me to do it and engage in that like creative space and know that it's a safe space because people are wanting this content. So, because I was like, nobody's going to subscribe to
I
this. It's
know.
going to
You
be
always
my
think that.
dad.
You have such adoring, loyal fans. And I'm always shocked when I hear you say, like, oh, people actually want this.
No,
Yes.
we're
Yes,
still
they
working
do,
on
Laura.
that in therapy now.
Yes, work on that. I think
Yeah,
maybe you have imposter syndrome. We need to address that.
100%. 100%. But you're right. Like you gotta have. There has to be, and it's so cliche to talk about like self care.
Self-care. I know. I feel like we need a new phrase now because that's gotten such a bum rap and everyone thinks
Yes.
like, oh, getting your nails done or taking, a whole day to go do something. But that's not really, I like to define it as like anything that fills your cup so that you can, because
Yeah.
you're going to have to pour back out again. So what refills you? That is getting nails done for some people, not for me. I hate sitting there and getting my hair and my nails done. It's like torture. I want to like claw my skin off. Um, for me, maybe it's a walk outside. For you, maybe it's
Yes.
jotting down some lyrics. I don't know.
Sure. And like whatever it is, I really like to read, but I don't have the time or like a lot of space for that now. But I keep buying the books, and they just keep
Yes.
stacking up. And I
All
just
these
feel
behind
myself
me, I've not read a page in any of these books. That's like
right,
a wish
100%.
list.
Right, because I don't want to like forget it or lose that.
Right.
Um, and then when I finish a book, even though it takes me months, I feel really great about it. So
Yeah.
just whatever you can do, you're right, that fills your cup, even a
Yeah.
little, you got to do it.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next question. How in the world do you make time for managing 4 kids, like you said, with like littles who are doing the little stuff and teenagers who are doing the teenage stuff? You probably have to drive them all over creation. Your job as a speech language pathologist and keeping up with the accountability with your Patreon fans and your cover shows and your original song shows. How, like, that sounds insane. Is it like, I'll sleep when I'm dead? Like, how do you do it?
No, I definitely sacrifice some sleep to be alone. That's something I'm working on, but sometimes you have to prioritize the mental health over the
Exactly.
physical
Yep. I
health.
think we
So,
all have that debate at the end of the night.
yes,
Like, do I do something for me or do I get some sleep?
sure. I think you have to find the balance that works for you. But I have an amazing partner who, allows
Definitely
for,
key.
yeah, the logistics of everything. I mean, he's on it with everything. He coaches soccer. He's on the board of the soccer. Like I don't know how between
I should be
everything he
asking him
does,
these questions, right?
it's kind of crazy how much we're able to accomplish. Like, it's a productive vibe around here. There's just not time to not be productive in some ways. Um, I feel fortunate at this point that I have some days home with my youngest. I have some days at work with my patients. I have some days that I'm out singing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, granted, not my songs, cover songs, but I
Right.
come
Which
home
is
with a
technically
check.
work, but different.
It is. It takes, I have to remember all these songs and like and
Mm-hmm.
not sound awful, but I feel fortunate that I have that balance because I'm not all in on one thing, but at the same time, I feel like I'm never 100% in any of those things. So it's just another, you have to, and I feel like in today's day and age, everybody makes you feel like there's a right way to
Right.
mother or there's a right way to parent and right way to do everything. And there's not. I there's just not. So you have
I
to
mean, there
find
might
what
be a
works.
right for each parent or each,
Agreed.
duo or whatever, but each family. Um, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that would just be illogical if we said there was like one right way to do everything. But that's also
I,
what makes it so hard. It makes it easy because you could do it your way, but it also makes it hard, I think, because we're all constantly like second guessing, comparing,
Yeah.
doing all that.
But I sit in gratitude a lot for the fact that I do have this diverse um, kind of work life balance at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm because I'm never going to get this time. I saw something the other day, like nobody ever said I spent too much time with my kids.
Right.
So I feel really grateful that I do have time with them, but I can also leave the house and be
Yeah, I
like,
mean, it just makes you enjoy the time with them more, I would think. You gotta,
yeah,
I feel like we all have to miss each other a little bit to
yes,
appreciate each other. If COVID taught us anything, it's I
yeah,
need to miss you once in a while.
you're right.
All right. So it is a thing that happens often where I will hear one of your songs and think that I know, what it's about. And then I find out like, oh, it's not a love song. It's about, someone passing on or something. And I'm sure that happens with everyone's music. So in your song, I Take It All, you wrote, I take it all in stride. I take it all inside. I take it all to heart. I take it all apart. I take it all. You know what you wrote that about, and I'm sure it was long before
Do I?
you probably long before you had your kids. I'm wondering, as a fan, like, do your songs ever change? Like, do you hear your lyrics differently as your own life changes, or is it just always going to represent like where you were and what was going on and what you wrote about it back then? Because when I hear that, that's like a mom mantra for
Mm-hmm.
me of like, things don't turn out the way we think they're going to, your day, your life, whatever, but just like take it all. And if you need to like fall apart, fine, come back. But that's probably not as it was written.
It's funny that I haven't thought about that song in a long time because I don't
I was listening to
play it
everything
often.
prepping for this.
Jeez. I almost said sorry, but I'm not going.
No, don't be sorry.
That was my immediate inner thought.
Actually, and I listen to
And
them,
I'm like,
this is
why am I
great,
apologizing?
on CD in my car. Not even like, this is not streaming. These are the CDs that I bought at the live shows back in whatever. They're probably like, 12 years old.
I love it. They're not coasters. That's wonderful.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
One is even signed. It's a prized possession.
I write like with love.
Yes.
Uh, that song. It's funny because that was written kind of at the start of the step parenting,
Okay.
and I had to think about that because when I thought about some of the other lyrics in that song, I was like, what did I write that song about? Because I think you've seen from Patreon, like I don't have memory. It almost feels like
Right.
dissociative states of
Yes.
the song just comes out.
I think that's the sleep deprivation of children, and I'm not sure we ever get it back. I'm sad to tell you.
Yeah. But I often don't like this, they just come out and I don't
Yeah.
really like sit and belabor the song.
Right.
But with that one, it was an interesting time because, and I was thinking some of the other lyrics, like I said in the verse, so I see that the road that I am taking isn't going where you thought that it would lead for me. But it's all right because I wake up every morning and decide that I'm happy with my life. I chose to be in a relationship with somebody who had an ex-wife and two children. That I kind of stepped into his world and it was like, I take it all. I take it all in stride. I take it all. And I'm watching this dynamic unfold that still remains complex, but somehow we've managed to navigate it. And, I just want everybody to like be okay. And I take it all
Yeah.
kind of
It's
thing.
really, really beautiful.
So I didn't realize like there was mothering in that, but I wasn't.
There you go. See, I've never heard, usually at shows, you'll tell the stories of like, here's what was going on when I wrote this. I've never heard you talk about that one to the best of my terrible memory.
Yeah.
So that's kind of ironic that I happen to pick that. And it does sort of have parenting origins. That's really, really cool.
It does. So now
Yeah.
I will see that song differently thanks to your
There you go.
interpretation.
Oh my goodness. Plus, I think we came up with I was determined to come up with a title for a future song. And I think we did when you said, whatever you said, the hardest part is through, or the only way out is through.
Yeah.
That sounds like, put that in your little notebook.
And that might be done already. I feel like
It might be.
Somebody already rocked that one.
And you can give me a teeny font, give the podcast credit, down on the bottom.
For all the 10 people who will watch by that.
Right. So coming to today then, this gig is not new to you, this parenting gig. You are well into it now. You've seen all of the ages. What are you finding most challenging about parenting? Doesn't matter, bio kids, step kids, whatever, they're all your kids right now. What is the thing that you're like, I really dislike this part of parenting right now?
The emotional regulation that it takes. And that's another like buzzword that's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's,
Especially in our
yes,
house.
yes, it is very easy to get bogged down in all of their
Yep.
dysregulation. And
Yep.
I see the benefit and the importance of staying as calm. Doesn't mean I don't tell them like
Right.
I'm angry that happened, or I've certainly flown off the handle. I have lost it. I had a major, like, I was so happy to have a therapist because mom rage is a very real and very shameful thing that
It
I
is.
have 100% experience, and I don't think enough people talk about that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm I've been like all over the place with parenting, but I really see the benefit of being that steady rock for them, and the importance of. It's funny because I see how my dad will like interact about certain things, and I'll come in and say like, you were upset. You were upset that the tower fell down, and that's why you threw the block across the room. It's yes. Okay, it's okay to be mad. You cannot throw toys. You cannot do it. It could hurt me. It could hurt you. It could hurt the dogs. So, and just that, like, you're
Oh, right. You have
calm.
dogs in this mix too, right?
There's two of them.
We
Yeah.
didn't even.
Surprised we haven't heard them
Another
yet.
day.
Yes. But that balance of just trying to be, and the difficulty of trying to be their rock when you are bubbling inside and just want to like throw the matchbox car at the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it would
so
probably make us
that's the
feel a lot
hardest.
better in the moment, but then in the next moment, they're picking up on that and then they're giving that back, and it all becomes like
Sure.
a vicious cycle. So
Yeah.
definitely easier
Yeah.
said than done, but super, super useful in those moments where you can do it.
Yeah.
What's bringing you the most joy in parenting right now?
Um, in parenting, that's what I think. What's bringing, honestly, at this stage, that's bringing me the most joy is maintaining connection with my friends and my family members because
Okay.
I'm with the littles all the time, seemingly, and I love them, and I just think
Mm-hmm.
like being present, being playful and joyful, and like not. I really try to like shut off the chore list sometimes. That
Mm-hmm.
it can wait. I I'm not going to get this time back. I also, this is a
Yep.
terribly sad story. I was telling you my childhood next door neighbor. We used to talk through the HVAC vent. Our homes were connected. So like I
That's
grew up with
awesome.
this girl. She just right before Thanksgiving had a massive hemorrhage in the
Oh
pons
gosh.
section of her brainstem. She has two sons who are like I think like 9 and sophomore in high school. She's been on a ventilator in a coma
Mm.
since before
Oh my
Thanksgiving.
goodness.
Like we still are in touch, all of us kids from that neighborhood.
Wow.
So when you get, and I deal with people with neurological impairments at
Mm-hmm.
work all the time, and you just see the trauma that people endure and what they have to live with. And I really, what's bringing me most joy is like just living in the gratitude of
Mm-hmm.
that also cliche of I have to empty the dishwasher, I have to change the diaper. I get to
Yeah. Yeah. I
because
mean, that's
when when
such a
stuff
sucky
like that
story, but if
hits
you can
close to
take something
home,
like that from it.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember actually that reminds me when when my son was a newborn and just so fussy. Fussy is not like the right word for it. Colicky, whatever everybody wants to call it. Meaning, like, unless I was bouncing, swaying, shushing, wearing, standing on my head, he would scream.
Yeah.
I knew someone who had lost their baby around the same age. And that just like, it took me from, I don't want to be doing this right now. This is horrible. Why do I have this kind of baby?
Right.
Like, no one else is doing this in the middle of the night. Everyone's sleeping peacefully, to like, you know what? This is where I need to be and what I need to be doing right now. It won't last forever. And grateful was probably not the right word. I'm not grateful to be swaying this screaming baby in the middle of the night. But yeah, I just felt so, I decided for me, I was going to take something, positive from that. Those moments they really get to you, and I guess help with the gratitude.
It gives you a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that I can say. And
which is so helpful in life and in parenting.
And you still have to, acknowledge and validate the moments, because that's really hard. People who've never experienced having a baby like that cannot understand the added stress of all that.
Oh, yeah. And I don't mean like you should be so grateful that you can't also grieve. Like, this isn't the kind of baby I wanted, or this isn't the experience that I wanted. Everybody's entitled to that. So have your moments, but also realize that, somewhere in there is probably something to be grateful for as well.
It's just the constant word of balance.
Yeah. Yep. Very, very true. Well, I'd love to keep you forever, but I will not. But I have one more question for you. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about a lot, obviously, mothering without your own mother, anxiety, work-life balance, all of that, finding a village. Is there one thing that you've learned, or maybe more than one thing, on your parenting journey that we didn't talk about yet, that you wish you had realized sooner, or figured out sooner, or experienced sooner, or whatever, that you could share with other parents now? Given as that's the theme of our podcast.
I guess just in the end, as much as you're going to screw up, because you are, like, we're all human, we're all flawed, we're all work in progress. Just the importance of being present as much as possible. Like, get off of that. Get off of that. Turn the TV off. Take a walk. Like, it's amazing just to like tune in on a woodpecker on a walk. Just things have gotten so busy and so complicated, and we all I want my kids to feel comfortable, like being alone, being in silence, slowing down. And I'm still kind of learning to do that myself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
I often say to my son, be in the now, not in the next, because he always likes to know like what's going to happen after that. And when he wants the whole layout of the day. Yeah. But I feel like that takes away from like, but this is what we're doing right now. Like, just be here. So we shortened it and said, be in the now, not the next.
And it's all easier said than done. But the biggest things are like, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with them. Find your balance however you need to, and just be present. They just want your attention and your time, and they deserve it.
I love it. Absolutely. Laura, thank you so much for joining me. I'm super, super honored that you were willing to give me and my listeners so much time today. You made it through pretty much without crying. I know that your mom, and at risk of making you cry now, obviously she would want to see this too. You are a fantastic mother, and I know she'd be so thrilled to see how your family's growing and how you're pulling this off. Apologies.
Before
I will have you back.
Just a little plug. I have learned that I am a highly sensitive person. Dr. Elaine Aron's work was instrumental in me understanding that I'm not like crazy. Yeah. It's okay to have big feelings. It's very okay. And like 20% of the population are HSPs.
And that's what makes you so excellent at what you
Google
do.
that
and as a Oh yeah, Google it. As a highly sensitive person myself, I think that's why, like, the moment I heard your first lyrics, I was like, oh, wow. You know that song when it's strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words. The lyrics of that, when I was in that backyard, I was like, oh my God, it's like she knows what's in my head and in my heart. So you are that for me. And I think if you weren't a highly sensitive person, you know, we wouldn't be getting all the amazing, amazing music and words that we get from you. So thank you for what you do. Keep doing it as much as you can. And thank you so much for joining us today. Listeners, and watchers, I'll be back soon with more stuff that I and others wish that we knew sooner. In the meantime, I'll leave you with a list of stuff that I've learned the hardest way, actually updated for today because I got tired of my old list. So number one, it actually applies to what we were talking about. Your to-do list will always be there. It does not end. So put yourself on it, ideally towards the top, but just put yourself on it. And you can't pour from an empty cup. So schedule ways to refill yours every day. And lastly, there's no way to be a perfect parent. Countless ways to be a really good one. We'll be back soon with more. Thank you.
Tonight I'll be with you. Tonight I will kiss you. Take all the madness from the hours. Cry if you want to. I will cry with you. Give me your troubles and your worries, 'cause nothing is wrong now. Everyone's gone now. Just lay your skin against my skin. I'll take on the world. I'll be a good girl. I'll make sure the sun will rise again. It's okay. Come and lay down beside me, and I'll take away your pain. I'll touch your face just as gently as I can. I'll hold your hand and tell you all the things I love about you. God, the list is long. I'll sing a song so you can just sleep now. Just close your eyes and quiet your mind and just drift away into the calm. Wait for tomorrow. For now, drown your sorrow, and there I will be to chase the rain. It's okay. Come and lay down beside me, and I'll take away your pain. I'll touch your face just as gently as I can. I'll hold your hand and tell you all the things I love about you. God, the list is long. I'll sing a song so you can just sleep now. Oh, it's okay. Come and lay down beside me, and I'll take away your pain. I'll touch your face